So this is all for this session?
Yes, this is the conclusion of our first set of technical sessions, kindly chaired by Professor. May I request participants for the next technical session to be ready, which we shall reconvene in about 5 minutes' time. So all participants for the next section, kindly be ready. And I would like to once again thank Professor Antar Abdullah for chairing this session and making time for us. So our first technical session is over, and we shall reconvene for our second session in about 5 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my dear Mr. Pascal. And we would like the 4 next presenters to be ready. We have Ms. Smita Nair. Are you available? Smita Nair. Well, and also Bassam Hamid is there. Thank you, my dear Bassam, for being on time. And Siri Rikha. Dr. Siri Rikha available. And the 4th presenter will be Thamar. So far we have confirmed Mr. Bassam from Baba Sahib University. And
yes, sir, I'm available. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, who is speaking? Dr. Sarifa?
Yes, sir, I'm Sri Rekha. Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. Now we have 2 presenters with us. And Smita Nair.
Mr. Bassam from SRTM University.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, from SRT University in Nanded.
Yes, thank you.
And Mr. Thamar is available. Shahnawaz.
Smita here, sir.
Okay. Okay, Smita Nair is there. He will do the break, and first presentation is going to be conducted by you. So I would like to the limitations of the time. Please abide by the time. 4 minutes for presentation. Try not to exceed, please, not to exceed and your presentation that and also I would like to request the audience, when you have the question, just state it directly. And also the presenters, the answer is also make it short and to the point. And if we there is another longer discussions, we can discuss by WhatsApps. We have, as we have mentioned, the phone numbers and the emails of all the presenters if somebody needs more resources or more information. So please cooperate with us and be on time, please. So we still have Shahnawaz is available. Shahnawaz.
Yes, sir, I'm present.
Oh, that's perfect. So we have you all, the 4 wonderful presenters. Now we would like to
I'm present.
Invite our wonderful chairperson.
I'm present, sir.
Okay, fine. You can now mute yourself until we call you. Now we will have the chairperson of the second technical session, Professor B. Bindu, and I would like to invite Dr. Al Munira to introduce our wonderful chairperson, please.
Good afternoon.
I'm so happy to get a chance to introduce Professor B. Bindu from India. She's the professor and dean, Department of Education, University of Kerala. She has been the chairperson of Board of Studies in Education of University of Kerala. And she is also the chief editor of the journal Studies in Education by the Department of Education, University of Kerala. She has successfully guided 11 PhD theses and has published more than 20 research articles. She has to her credit many awards, including the award for the most fabulous professors and INSC Research Excellence Award. So it's our privilege to welcome you, ma'am, for this session.
Thank you. Thank you all. A very good afternoon to all. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are very audible, and we would like to give a notice to the when you reach a minute to end, we will ring the bell, which you should wait for 2 minutes, and Professor Hu is there to manage all the topics.
Yeah, okay. A very good afternoon to all. I'm extremely happy to be a part of this international event. And because as I'm a teacher in the field or in the teacher education field for the last 27 years, and I have been experimenting with all this teaching strategies, and we are training in our department because this is a Department of Education, University of Kerala, and here we are giving thrust to developing techniques, strategies, and other innovative programs for making learning happen. So in that sense, we are for the last 60 years, our department has been experimenting on this English language education also. And in Kerala, as you all know, English is not taken as a foreign language, not as taken as a second language, but we are giving priority to this English language, even as a first language itself. And sometimes I am afraid that if we are giving priority to this language as are we giving overemphasis to this English language itself? That's all that is the experience in Kerala. And as you see, all the teachers, even in the school level or in the higher education level, there are very proficient teachers who are dealing with English. And more than that, any language is for communication. It's not simply communicating idea from one person to another, but it's above all transferring knowledge, attitude, and skills. And there was, during the discussion, there was points raising regarding the attitude towards English language, whether it's a foreign language or a native language. But this attitude decides what should be the strategy for learning a particular language, because the language, it should convey not only the knowledge, but the feelings of each and every person among themselves. So in that sense, the seminar is a very promising one, and I'm happy that there are people from all over the world has joined, and it's a very great effort by the Department of Linguistics, and I'm happy that it's a sister concern. And without wasting time, I am inviting all the participants or the presenters. We have 4 presenters in this session, and first one is Smita K. Nair. She is Assistant Professor, Tunjatha Malayalam University, Tirur. Then Basan Hamid Mohsin is from the Department of English, Faculty of Education, Hotia University, Yemen. Then Srirekha Art, she is a higher secondary school teacher in Kerala itself. And Tanveer Shanawaz, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Rishi Bankim Chandra College, West Bengal. So we have from all levels, that's starting from the school level to the higher education level. So I think we can have a very good brainstorming session regarding the most appropriate strategies for teaching English either as a second language or as a foreign language. So all the participants, welcome to the program. Best wishes for your presentation. You know the norms. Yeah, because 12 minutes, speaker, 12 minutes. Try to finish it be ready with that, because be on time, and when we can have a discussion at last. So first I am inviting Srimati Smita K. Nair for her presentation on the topic socio-cultural approaches to English language learning in Kerala. Dr. Smita, are you present?
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, you can begin your presentation.
Yeah, first of all, let me share my PPT.
Okay, 12 minutes.
Am I audible now, ma'am?
Yeah, yes.
PPT is seen?
Yeah.
Thank you. My Title of my study is Socio-Cultural Approaches to English Language Learning in Kerala. So, coming to the brief introduction of education system of Kerala. In Kerala, there are both private and government schools and colleges. Here, English is the medium of instruction in most of the private schools. Government schools offer English or Malayalam as the medium of instruction. Kerala curriculum framework includes English language learning from first standard onwards. So, the socio-cultural context, Kerala has been able to reduce the regional disparities in education. More than 96% of population in upper primary school within the served within the distance of 3 kilometers. Kerala has been able to achieve gender equality in education to a large extent. Then coming to the statement of the problem, although Kerala has good education standards, there are dropouts from education in all levels, especially from the tribal communities, which are from entirely different socio-cultural backgrounds. They face a lot of issues in mainstream education. Around 70% of tribal children drop out of education. The second one is, after long years of continuous education, English education, children are not capable of handling the language in different communicative contexts, and the failure rates of students in English language examinations too are higher. Then, background of the problem. Both the issues carry a similar cause, which is the education without the proper knowledge of its socio-cultural environment. Learning a new language without the knowledge of its socio-cultural environment is like parrot drills, which creates an unfamiliar environment to children. It lowers the self-esteem and results in dropouts or failure or less proficiency in that language. They have a substantial disadvantage in receiving instruction in a foreign language. These challenges may severely affect the students, especially coming from minority language areas or from other backward conditions. So, in both cases, specific learning needs of children in relation to the language of the home and those of the school have to be considered. Then, coming to the Vygotsky socio-cultural theory, learning and development cannot be dissociated from their context. Learners bring their own understandings to social interactions and construct meanings by integrating those understandings with their experiences in the context. Vygotsky postulated that one's interactions with the environment assists learning. These experiences which one brings to a learning situation can greatly influence the learning outcome. So, as per the socio-cultural theory, children's early language learning arises from processes of meaning making in collaborative activity with other members of a given culture. Therefore, social interactions are significant. Internalization of actions and mental operations occur in social interactions through the cultural transmission of language. The aim of schooling should be to develop the children greater awareness of themselves, their language, and their role in the world. They should be active members of the cultural world created in schools, which modifies mental functioning. The culture affects the course of mental development. Implementation. Sociocultural theory in second language learning can be implemented in different levels, that is in curriculum, teaching, and assessment. In curriculum, the current assessment of English language education in schools, the bilingual explanation of textual material, mostly they approach the grammar translation method or the structural approach for that. It results the English class miserable or challenging for the students. In between reading and writing process of English, spoken English is confined to the primary skills of listening and speaking. But current education system gives importance to secondary skills such as reading and writing, which results in the suffering of both sets of skills at later stages. And thereby, complete proficiency becomes a challenge. In order to overcome this difficulty, syllabus has to be changed into real language situations for interactive learning. Since children learn much through interaction, curricula should be designed to emphasize children between learners and learning tasks. Teaching. In teaching, helping students to acquire cognitive development through the social surroundings can be accomplished in many ways, such as instructional scaffolding, reciprocal teaching, peer collaboration, etc. Instructional scaffolding is a familiar term which we have already practicing in our education setting to support the children by asking questions or by prompting or in the form of instructions. The point to remember here is that the scaffolding means helping a child learn a new skill by building on skills that they already have. That is, scaffolding won't be proficient in cultural isolation. Reciprocal teaching. involves an interactive dialogue between a teacher and small group of students. From a Vygotskian perspective or social-cultural perspective, reciprocal teaching comprises social interaction and scaffolding as students gradually develop skills. Then coming to peer collaboration, when peers work on tasks cooperatively, the shared social interactions can serve as instructional function. It proves to recognize the impact of the social environment during learning. In English language learning, it can be used as collective activity to imitate natural communicative events. Then coming to the third level, that is the assessment. Assessment methods must take into account the zone of proximal development as said by Vygotsky. What children can do on their own is their level of actual development, and what they can do with help is their level of potential development. The zone of proximal development is the difference between what children can do on their own and what they can do with assistance from others. That is the difference between the actual development and the potential development. Interactions with adults and peers in the ZPD promote cognitive development. The ZPD represents the amount of learning possible by a student given the proper instructional conditions. We can calculate the ZPD of students in schools in different environments in order to note the development of learning activity. Then implementing teaching methods. Active implementation of these methods in English language learning can bring out better results. The way of implementation of these methods should be treated carefully. Reciprocal teaching and peer collaboration can be a role of play of natural communicative models of their own socio-cultural events than a drama or a story from an unfamiliar environment. Cultural exchange along with knowledge transmission occurs when a group of students share such cultural specific communicative ideas. Theme-based learning. The interactive classes can be set with some themes. The theme can be anything in our immediate environment like nature, place, work, different home-related activities, cooking, etc. Then abstract stories like once upon a time there lived a king. The significance of immediate environment is that it can be creative always. Themes in the nature can also be the teaching aid. Students can act as different trees, flowers, can play stories, can create events with the help of teaching instructional scaffolding. Reciprocal teaching and peer collaboration can be the methods here, like small skits, role play, stories, songs, etc., related to particular theme. Technology-based learning. Nowadays, it is easy to connect with socio-culturally related themes to technology-based learning. Today, any social environment can be recreated with the help of technology like animations, etc. Such theme-based learning can make the children interactive, socio-culturally related, creative, and motivated. It develops self-esteem of the children when directly and creatively included with familiar environments of language learning. The learning outcome can be enriched with simple to complex and concrete to abstract teaching methods in later stages. This implemented socio-cultural education program can be helpful to reduce the failure rate in second language learning to develop communication skills. Coming on the tribal dropouts. In the case of tribal students Kerala, government introduced a new scheme called Gotra Bandhu that is engaging tribal teachers as mentors in primary schools to reduce dropout rates. These mentor teachers can act as common communicative links between the tribal students and class teachers. Proper planning of interactive and socially related second language learning curriculum and instructional methods with the help of mentor teachers can bring the tribal students motivated and socially active, helps to increase their self-esteem and thereby can reduce dropout rates. This can be practiced as a socio-cultural educational model for tribal education. For tribal students, Malayalam is the second language. For them, English can be considered as a foreign language. Actually, this method can be used for both languages. So to conclude, socio-cultural theory in second language classroom emphasizes the importance of social and collaborative aspects of learning. So in order to get better results, such social-linguistic methods can be followed in schools carefully. Implication of such social-linguistic methods can improve interactive socio-cultural based learning of new language without much difficulty. Such kind of education program focuses on how learner accomplishes a task with the help of different instructional scaffolding by using reciprocal and peer teaching collaborations. The developing technology can aid the learning process in the implementation of socio-cultural approach. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Smita. You have gone much of the and little aspects of the cultural languages. and you might have some contextual explanations to make it more clear. Okay, thank you very much. So now I move on to the second presenter, that is Bassam Hamid Mohsin. He is from Yemen, and his topic is towards the accommodation of EAL pedagogy in Yemeni English language educational institutions. Welcome, Mohsin.
Yes, good afternoon. Am I audible?
Louder, please.
Good afternoon. Am I audible now?
Louder, please. Louder, please.
Am I audible?
Yeah. Okay, you can begin your presentation.
Okay, Honorable Chair, respected scholars, good afternoon. First, let me thank all those behind the great academic event. Now let me go to my PPT.
Mohsin, can you increase the volume a little more?
Excuse me, ma'am?
Increase the volume.
It is already raised, ma'am, but I think the microphone is not working properly.
Okay, you can present.
بعرض البي بي تي بس يا دكتور.
Okay, yeah.
الشاشة ظاهرة عندنا.
Okay, is it
No, it's not visible.
شاشتك ظاهرة بس عرض البي بي تي. لا الحين غلقت من جديد.
Okay. Is it clear now?
Yeah. Okay, you can begin.
Okay. My topic is toward the accommodation of EIL pedagogy and Yemeni English language educational institutions. The accommodation of English as international language, that is EIL, is appropriate for Yemeni learners of English. English language is gaining more importance every day in Yemen. Thousands of learners of English of different ages are seeking to join educational institutions to learn English. These institutions devote majority of their curriculum and teaching to distinguishing the particular linguistic feature of English spoken in specific areas of the world. These varieties are viewed as target models that learners should follow. However, these learners may have different purposes in studying English, which are usually more limited than of those seeking immigration to English-speaking countries. Many of these learners choose to learn English to use it in multilingual context. Some others English learners probably wish to learn English to seek certain jobs, share knowledge about their own countries with others for purposes such as economic growth, encouraging trade and tourism, and contributing to international academic exchanges. What is EIL English as international language? International English is a concept which refers to English as a global means of communication in various dialects and the movement toward a language international standard. It is usually referred as English that is spoken by both native and non-native speakers and the language that is property of the world rather than property of native speakers. EL as a tool to resist English linguistic imperialism. EIL can be a solution for linguistic imperialism, whereas the alternative, which is promote the so-called prestige varieties, placing the practitioner as braver of Anglo-American hegemony and perpetuating the negative influence that foreign language learning may have onerous cultural integrity. It seeks cultural neutrality since English is an international language. The culture presented particularly in ELT materials must cover the word than be restricted to culture of native speakers. The importance of EIL. The presence of many English varieties creates significant teaching and evaluation consequences. Students can carry varieties of English to the classroom in many English-speaking settings that have significant purposes in their community in creating a sense of identity and interaction with other local speakers. EIL helps to concentrate on improving students' general education and knowledge, instead of concentrating on improving far-reaching English standard. The pedagogy of EL enables the learner to develop the following. Number one, awareness. Awareness of resisting linguistic imperialism, awareness of complexity of discourse and equipment of learners with the power to negotiate effectively, socio-political understanding of English spread and its influence on other language, awareness that English is a second language and should not replace mother tongue. Number two, knowledge of English spread and its consequences, knowledge of other different accents of English, knowledge of different varieties of English. Number three, attitudes opposing the monolingual fallacy of Anglo-American pedagogy, acknowledging the validity of English varieties, appreciation of different culture. Now let's move to English status in Yemen. In Yemen, the situation with respect to English is both exciting and exasperating. Exciting because the attitudinal change is real and perceptible, as borne out by the increasing numbers of English people enrolling in an equally increasing number of institutions to study English at great cost to themselves in terms of money, time, effort, and exasperating because university departments of English and private institutions have not responded appropriately to the pedagogic challenge endangered by this social psychological phenomenon as well as the international pedagogic challenge of English. I mean, there is a disappointing divide between what the young aspirants to knowledge of English need and what is offered to them by the educational establishments. There is also a big gap between Yemen and many other countries where English is a foreign language in how Yemen deals with English language and its pedagogic policy. In Yemen, many people, not only students enrolling in institutes expecting to acquire the degree of proficiency in English required by prospective employers. However, they find themselves stuck with learning American and British English differences in accent as well as the other features, and learning irrelevant issues about the culture of native speakers. In addition to that, the inner circle methodologies of ELT and native materials are used despite the fact that these methodologies and materials do not suit and match the infrastructure of Yemeni educational institution. The changing position of and status of English in the world have proposed change to the background of English users in Yemen as well as the world. The conclusion, the present study has discussed the EIL's distinguishing features. It highlights how EIL is guided by simple beliefs that promote pluricentric view of standards, realize the importance of the other language of students, seek to encourage pragmatic awareness, and appreciates the different original cultures from which speakers come. Bearing in mind the complication of linguistic and cultural basis of English, all pedagogical action should be based on local linguistics and culture setting and should be created by aware educationists and teachers who believe in the principles mentioned in this study. Through highlighting this, I do not claim to provide a solution, but to provoke more debates or start more discussions about how practical it would be to adopt the pedagogy of EIL in Yemen. Thus, how possible it might be to put the EIL theory into practice in Yemen in Yemeni ELT educational institutions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mosi. Your paper, it is provoking all others to think about how the teaching as an international language should be. And I think you might have thrown light upon some of the other strategies that you are following in Yemen. Okay, let's have discussion at last. And thank you for the presentation. And you are on time, have completed. And I invite the third presenter, that is Srirekha R. She's a higher secondary school teacher, and her topic is impact of ICT resources in addressing listening comprehension needs of ESL learners. Srirekha, are you present?
Yeah, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, that's
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon,
ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay, ma'am. Yeah, okay, ma'am. Let me start my PowerPoint presentation for why. Please cooperate.
My dear Bassam, could you please stop your sharing?
I stopped, sir.
Okay, fine. Now it's fine.
Srirekha, are you trying for a presentation?
Yeah. I'm getting ready, ma'am. Just a minute.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, ma'am. I think it's visible, ma'am. Yeah.
Yes, yes. You can start. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Dr. Srirekha, and let me proceed to my topic. And today I'm going to discuss here about the impact of ICT resources in addressing the listening comprehension needs of ESL learners. And it's quite evident to everyone that the impact of ICT on the realm of language learning, not only learning through the entire field of education. And every government, even including the central government as well as the state government, is paying great importance to incorporate the essentials or the possibilities of ICT into education. And it can be supported by the relatively large amount of money spent to procure hardware, software, and the training given to teachers. Like in Kerala also, we can see that the government is giving great importance to digitally equip our classrooms. And IT at School is the state venture that is giving ICT imparted coaching and training to the teachers as well as students, and equipping almost all the schools with the latest ICT tools and gadgets, and converting the normal classrooms to smart high-tech classrooms. This is what's happening in Kerala. And we are just considered as the goal bearers of ICT enhanced learning. And it's also clear to everyone what are the benefits of ICT on English language learning. Many researchers has pointed out that it motivates the learner, it makes learning a pleasant, interactive one, it gives prompt, instant feedback, and also gives the learner a wide exposure to native speakers, and gives an ample opportunity to practice language elements. Thus, in brief, we can say that learning becomes an individual responsibility, a collaborative and a cooperative affair. And in India, English is taught as a second language, and moreover, every government is giving great importance to the language proficiency of our learners, because the proficiency of English acts as a passport for better career prospects. Like many other developing countries, every government in India pays great attention to enrich the language proficiency of our students. But the reality is totally different. Even after spending a large amount of classroom hours of transaction, spending a huge amount of money for giving training to the students, preparing resource materials, the state of affairs in language learning, especially in English, is quite disappointing. The deteriorating standard is highlighted by many studies that conducted in India all over. And maybe the principal causes are identified, and maybe the faulty teaching methods, lack of exposure, or the lack of availability of resource materials, are plenty of them are there. But interestingly, here we have to, I'm limiting my topic to the link between language proficiency and listening comprehension, as my focus is on to develop the listening comprehension of our students. Language proficiency and listening comprehension are interlinked concepts, and listening comprehension plays a great role in making a learner a better user of language. But what happens in our classroom is that of all the 4 language skills, listening is the most neglected skill in our classrooms. We hardly pay any attention to develop the listening skill of the learners under the assumption that it will naturally get developed, while all the 3 other skills are enriched. And this gives importance to the need for conducting the present study. So there is a wide gap between the expected competence and the actual competence of our users. Especially when I limit my study to Kerala, it's a 100% literate state, and the government is the first state in India to introduce IT as a compulsory subject for the school leaving exam. And even after giving so much importance to ICT, and every parent is giving importance to English medium instruction, our communication skill, this communication skill of our students, are not up to the mark. This wide disparity leads to maybe that is what we have to find out. What are the reasons behind this disparity? There is a gap between the expected competence and the actual competence. They may fare well at the written products. When it comes to communication components or the functional components of the language, many of them fail to achieve this task or the goal. So this is what so here I am just giving focus to listening, as it is a fundamental skill, and when this skill is neglected or taken for granted, all other skills are get affected. So let me proceed to the thing that is of our classroom transactional hours. We are spending 45% to listening, while all the rest comes under 30% to speaking. Reading hours comes under 16, and the only minimum to writing. And when we have a close analysis of the secondary school curriculum for English followed in Kerala at present, this curriculum gives little importance to develop or assess the listening comprehension of learners. Well, the previous one has a separate section for assessing the listening comprehension, but the present course book totally avoids it. Hardly any effort is seen to develop or assess learning comprehension. It may be under the assumption that it will get automatically developed and assessed while assessing the rest of the skills. The challenges may be, when I conducted a questionnaire survey with the teachers using a questionnaire, they said that the lack of availability of authentic materials, resources, and many of the teachers have little idea about how to develop or what are the sources available. And the primary and most important thing which I feel is that excluding listening comprehension from our exam system. So here comes the role of ICT. So if we use ICT resources to develop the listening skills, then it would be a tremendous impact. It will give a new revolutionary impact to improve the listening comprehension of our students. And many will say at this point say that there are a multitude of resources are available on internet. Yes, exactly. But the thing is, they fail to cater to the needs of our students who are non-native learners, because their style of presentation, content, accent, intonation, speed may not be familiar to our students, even if the content is not familiar to our students. So there are foreign sites, and that is why I thought of preparing a listening module, interactive module, which can be used to develop as well as not only develop but to assess the listening comprehension of our students. The objectives were here to analyze the effect and impact of ICT, how we develop the language proficiency and the listening comprehension of learners. I adopted a mixed method and a descriptive come experimental study, and the design was a non-equivalent pre-test, post-test control group design. And the tools used, I have used many tools. And most important one was the interactive listening module, which I prepared based on the source course book that followed in Kerala for the secondary level. So I made, that is the highlight of this module, because I made the module to suit or to tailor to the needs of our language learners who are at the secondary level. So it might be familiar to them because almost all the topic or the contents are based on their course book. It will help the teachers also. It gives them an idea how to use the course material they are using they use to transact the content to the students. The same material can be used for developing the listening comprehension of our students. And the experimental study, it was divided into two, 180 students, 90 control and experimental group. And I thought the experimental group using this interactive listening module and this audio, I prepared 3 topics for this based on the syllabus of secondary level students. And every section, there are 3 units, and every section has every unit has 2 sections. The first section deals with their strictly textual questions, and the second one they are advanced level questions which lead to post listening activities. It's more or less, it's a game, a fun oriented advanced level one. And the statistical techniques were used to analyze the data, and it was found that the language proficiency and listening comprehension of the experimental group was much better than the control group. So this itself indicates that the efficiency of the interactive listening module which I developed. As the module, if I try to refine this ILM or the interactive listening module as a learning material, it will confine only to myself. So I just wanted to make it into a web page, and later it was uploaded to a website, and the link is given below. Please, those who are interested, you can just follow it up, which is exclusively for the language learners of India, especially in Kerala. And this is the home page of my web page, and this was quite interesting that many of the teachers as well as students replied that this contents in the interactive learning module, listening module of this website was quite useful and interesting to them. It helped them not only to develop the language listening comprehension, but it also helped them to assess their listening comprehension. Instant feedback was given them, and they were led to post listening activities also. So it was a new area for the teachers also. So that was in brief, and let me conclude my topic, and I thank you for your patient listening. Thank you, ma'am, for giving me this wonderful opportunity.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Srirekha. Your topic was on listening comprehension and the influence of ICT on enhancing this listening comprehensions. But your title suggests or referring to the listening comprehension needs of ESL learners. But I think, having mentioned that, you can give a detailed description at the end of the discussion.
Sure, ma'am. Sure.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we can move to the next presenter, that is Thamar Shanavas. He is Assistant Professor, Department of English, Rishi Bangam College, West Bengal. And his topic is Impact of ICT in Education, a Phenomenal Shift. That is a critical overview. Are you there?
Yes, ma'am, I'm present, ma'am.
Okay, welcome. Okay, best wishes for your presentation.
Thank you.
You have 12 minutes.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for giving me the opportunity. Today, I am going to present my paper. Just give me a few seconds. Madam, is it visible?
Yes.
Okay.
Good
afternoon, everyone. My name is Thamar Shanavas. I'm Assistant Professor of Rishi Bangam College. Today, I'm going to present my paper on the role of ICT in education.
Can you please make a slideshow?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any problem with your presentation? You can make it more clear.
Is it visible, ma'am?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay.
Can you shift to full screen mode, please?
Education,
Dr. Thamar, can you shift to full screen mode, please?
A critical overview. Today, information and communication technology nowadays affect almost every aspect of human life. Yes, ma'am.
Can you make it full screen show? It's very congested. We are not able to read it properly.
Yeah, Shanawaz, there is an option here on the top of the PPT. Okay.
Yes.
And there is an icon looks like a glass. When you hit, it will be full screen.
Yeah.
Is it visible, ma'am? No.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Information communication technology nowadays affect almost every aspect of human life. It plays significant roles in employment, business, education, and cultural activities. And as a matter of fact, many citizens consider ICT as a mechanism for change, rapid movement in working practices, processing and sharing of knowledge, teaching strategies, learning techniques, academic studies, and exposure to electronic technologies. ICT strengthens teaching and learning and increases the value of teaching personnel in fulfilling their functions as designers of pedagogical environments. ICT offers the teachers to portray his or her instruction at every stage of educational strategies in an elegant manner and in a place to make understand for the learners properly. At present, teaching training programs in India make ICT valuable and attractive. ICT is exemplified by the internet and digital technology are obviously a significant priority for potential education and need to be successfully incorporated and applied into the conventional education and learning institutions, especially in the teaching and education institutions. The use of such technology in teaching training programs will improve the quality of teaching effectively. A well-designed teacher training curriculum is also needed to satisfy the demands of today's teachers who want to know how to use ICT efficiently for their teaching strategies. This is also essential for teacher trainers and decision makers to consider the variables that influence the efficiency and cost effectiveness of the various solutions to ICT threat or teacher training so that teaching methods can be better investigated to simplify such improvements feasible for everyone. So if ICT is used in training programs by the institutes of educational training programs, our teaching learning process will be too smooth and easy to understand for every type of student in our country. At the end of the day, more attention should be paid to the specific roles of ICT in providing multimedia simulations of good teaching practices, delivering individual training courses, and assisting in overcoming the isolation and faults of teachers, connecting individual teachers to a wider spectrum and wider teaching community on a continuous basis and encouraging collaboration. ICT stands for Information and Communication Technology. It is pervasive and essential to play an important role in developing and revolutionizing educational system and also the process of teaching and learning. It's an integral part of a number of aspects of our daily lives. It applies to technology that provides access to knowledge. This involves every device that saves, preserves, runs, or gathers information in a digital medium. It is close to IT, but ICT depends chiefly on connectivity like the telephone, the mobile network, and other networking channels. Various types of ICT devices deal with the electronic sector, telephone, and interactive signage. The computing sector deals with the internet, computer hardware, and various applications. The internet is a distributed web of shared networks and machines. It's truly beneficial for us today, as for example, 5 out of 10 learners use their iPad to search for information, even as learning and teaching. So it is general and easy to get the internet in the market. So remarkable changes in teaching learning process caused by ICT. That was the traditional learning process was exposure to different types of process, types of information methods, student-centered learning through exposure to knowledge. The learning climate depends on exposure to knowledge and study. Examples of real-life teachers and mentors rather than experts in content. The revolution in the way of learning, there is the expanded usage of the website as a source. Internet consumers will pick the experts they should hear from. The process will become a problem-based learning in which complex real-world problems are used as the vehicle to promote student learning of concepts and principles.
Mr. Shanawaz,
yes, sir.
Excuse me, is there a possibility to adjust the sound? It is breaking and not clear that much. It is okay, but if it is going to be improving, that's better. Yes, you can speak.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, we are talking about your sound is not that audible, so if you can bring the mic near to your mouth.
Am I audible, sir?
No, yes. Yes, no.
The process will become a problem-based learning in which complex real-world problems are used as the vehicle to promote student learning of concepts and principles as opposed to direct presentation of facts and concepts and expansion of ability, expertise, and results-oriented curricula ICT in education serves as an instrument of transition. It promotes independent learning. Students are involved in the learning process by utilizing ICT. Supporting knowledge construction, the rise of ICT as a computing system unknowingly focuses on talking of alternate learning hypothesis. The conventional teaching approach centered on instructor preparation and coaching students to a set of instructional sequences to produce the intended result. This method of teaching approaches the intended dissemination of information by any contact with the material as a means of consolidating the learning of information. It depends on the personal understanding process. In this area, learning is seen with the creation of sense rather than the memorization of information. The usage of ICT provides numerous resources in the development and encouragement of resource-based student-centered learning. This works to help different facets of information creation and to make it more and more student-friendly. The more applications of ICTs in the learning phase, the more noticeable the effect. The role of ICT in enhancing the development of fundamental education and literacy. There is the access to the learning program anytime, convenient to the learner. Learners can be at any place to log in. There is a synchronous interaction, providing participants and tutors with time to prepare their responses, leading to succinct and to the point interaction and on-track, thoughtful and creative conversation. Enhanced group collaboration, creating shared electronic conversations, which can be more thoughtful and permanent than voice conversation, aided by group coordinators. These sessions can be powerful for learning and problem solving. New educational approaches can be used. For example, faculty from anywhere in the world, faculty teams with different specialties can be put together and innovations of teachers can be shared among themselves for improvement and adaptation. Support basic education. We shall examine below how and where ICTs, both new and old, can enhance education for all in developing countries, as in the case of higher education mentioned in the previous section. ICTs can support basic education. Number one is school education. Number two is offering non-formal education for out-of-school children and adults, promoting distance education for teachers and their in-service career development, improving school management. These are discussed in detail. Supporting education in schools. ICT can provide access to information sources, enable communications, create interactive.
Hello, Tanbir. Can you please conclude in 1 minute, please? Thank you. Your time is up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Please highlight the points only.
Okay.
Don't read everything. Yeah.
Okay. So there's with many such positive effects of the ICT, there are many limitations of the ICT using education. That ICT as a new technology that simplifies, promotes human behaviors is not only valuable in many ways, but still has certain drawbacks that many people, both within and outside the education sector, think of ICT as a kind of panacea, the most significant answer to educational issues. Certain factors may be seen as limiting the utilization and application of ICT in the education sector. Limitations may be classified as related to teachers, related to students, related to technologies. There are technical glitches may be all part in the learning cycle that involve machines and internet connectivity. While the mindset of teachers toward the usage of such innovations is important, other studies suggest that teachers have little clarification as to how to use technology and it can be useful for promoting and enhancing learning. For instance, most of the teachers might not have positive attitudes regarding technology because of a low level of self-efficacy. They appear not to be trained to learn technology. On the other hand, the limitation of the usage of ICT in education is associated with student behavior. Suitable use of the computer and internet by students has had substantial positive effects on student attitudes and achievement. Yet it is very common to observe limits on student behavior. Students tend to use technology for leisure activities and have less time to learn and research. The use of such technology in teaching training programs will definitely improve the quality of teaching effectively. A well-designed teacher training curriculum is important in satisfying the needs of today's teachers who want to develop their skills in using ICT to prepare e-contents properly for their teaching method. This is also important for teacher trainers and policymakers to consider the variables that affect the efficiency and cost effectiveness of the various solutions to ICT usage of teacher training, so that methods can be better investigated to render such improvements feasible for everyone. So if ICT is used in training programs by the institutions of the educational training programs, our teaching learning process will be too smooth and easy to understand for every type of student in our country. At the end of the day, more attention should be paid to the specific roles of ICT in providing multimedia simulations of good teaching practices, delivering individual training courses, helping to overcome the isolations of teachers, granting individual teachers to a wider teaching community on a continuous basis, and encouraging teacher collaboration. Technology can reduce the efforts given to students to collect the number of printed books and journals by acquiring knowledge and increase students' concentration on more important knowledge gathering process. Equally important, technology can represent education in ways during which it helps students to understand latest concepts and ideas. With guidance from effective teachers, students at different levels can use these tools and technologies to construct knowledge and develop skills that are needed in modern society, like presentation skills and analytical skills within the time. Teachers' role in teaching is facilitator. The teacher has got to facilitate the training by providing students with access to technology. Teachers can find the means to interact with students more easily in learning and cater to the numerous needs of various students. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Bindu Adal ma'am. Thank you, Amil Amalgam sir, for giving me the opportunity. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Tanbir Shanwas. So thank you all for paper presenters. We have topics on different areas, and everybody has been trying their level best to present the very relevant topics or concepts. And now the forum is open for discussion, because every paper focuses on any thrust area that is in the field of language education, whether it is a knowledge acquisition or the skill development or attitude development. And we have discussed all the points, and now the participants can raise their queries or comments, or you can share your experience with regard to these particular contexts. It's open to all. Please.
If you have any questions or comments, kindly unmute and feel free to speak.
Yeah. Comments are invited, please.
Well, if you allow me, I am really curious about the ICT, so I need to ask the last presenter, as well as because there are two papers, the last two papers we are on ICT. My point is, what is the latest in ICT, in short?
Tanbir Shanwas, the question is up to you. Tanbir?
Ma'am.
Yes. There is one question for you.
Yeah.
Have you got it?
I can't hear. Please repeat.
Amin, please.
Yes, Dr. Siririkha and also Dr. Shanawaz, they have presented a very interesting topic, which is the ICT, Information and Communication Technology. So I wanted to know what is the latest in this particular field with regard to language teaching or in education specific in general.
In ICT nowadays, we know that in the time of pandemic situation, ICT has become very much essential in this time, in this period of 5 or 6 months of lockdown. So virtual learning has become a need of the hour nowadays, as schools and colleges are already closed. So e-content, e-learning, these things have become very much important nowadays, and the latest technologies we are using in taking virtual classes, such as the essential apps such as Google Classroom or Zoom app or GoToWebinar apps. And with these apps, with these virtual learning apps, we can connect with many of our students who are really interested in learning. So in this time of pandemic situation also, there is not any kind of break in learning, but the most important problem is the connectivity or data, which should be meted out as.
So can I answer, sir?
Thank you, Tanveer.
Yes.
Thank you, Tanveer. Please go ahead,
Please.
Sharika.
Thank you. Yeah, can I answer, sir, for your question?
Yes, you can go ahead, please. Short, in short.
Yes, sir. Actually, I would be very happy to say that we are fully exploiting almost all the possibilities of ICT-enabled language learning in the present pandemic situation in Kerala. I'm teaching at, say, senior secondary level, and as now the real classrooms are not possible. We are all using virtual media platforms for teaching language. And we are even assigned a separate timetable for each teacher's class. We are given specific time, and using the Google Meet, or most of them are using the Google Meet app for taking the classes. We are delivering the resource materials, notes, assignments through Google Classrooms, and students are uploading it. We are doing evaluations. Even unit tests are being carried out, and even Google Docs. Using Google Docs, instant feedback is also possible. So I think at senior secondary level, we are exploring almost all the possible benefits offered by ICT to make language. I think it's giving a wonderful experience for both the teachers and as well as the students. Thank you, sir.
Dr. Srirekha, one more point. Srirekha?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, yes, ma'am.
You can detail upon some of the listening comprehension needs, as in your paper you have suggested.
Yeah.
And you one more point.
Yeah, ma'am. Sorry, because I was.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have suggested that listening is the most neglected aspect in the classroom. But why it happens? Because are you able to compensate for this with the help of this ICT?
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Let me clarify. Let me first explain about the needs of listening comprehension needs of our ESL learners. The most important need for developing listening is more an active process. They need enough reliable input or the resource material to develop, and it should fit their cultural background also. That's why I mentioned. I skipped that part because I just want to keep my PowerPoint presentation within the time limit of 10 minutes. That's why I skipped that area. But it's included under the barriers or challenges that a teacher or a student face while teaching listening comprehension. The important needs are the lack of available resource materials for developing the listening comprehension, both for the students as well as the teachers. And from speaking from the point of the students, they don't have the resource material. They don't know what are the types of listening tasks and how it can be developed. What are the tools available to develop in case of ICT, and how to, even if at all it's developed, how to assess, because assessment is important to find out where we reach, whether the fixed aims of language acquisition has been obtained or are attained. So these are the basic needs, and here comes the important thing: they're not getting enough resource material, they're not getting enough exposure, and lack of proper cultural appropriate content is also lacking, and teachers' lack of awareness how to utilize the existing. Some resources are there here and there, how to equip and how to utilize them all in together. That's also what I felt. These are the common needs, because listening is not a single skill. It has many sets of sub skills, and all these sub skills has to be addressed. Listening for information, listening for academic purposes, listening for entertainment, and there are different types of listening, and each type of listening requires a particular type of task or a resource material to develop, and all these things are not addressed in the present context. Resources are available, again I'm repeating, they are in foreign language or they are in native language. And that's why, especially I aim to developing a curriculum base where, because the teachers are transacting the content in the classroom, and activities are given at the end of every unit for all other tasks. So why can't that particular task can be utilized for developing and assessing listening? That's the area where I aimed at. So I think the first part I have answered. And the second one, ma'am, second question was, what was that, ma'am? Pardon me, ma'am. The second question you asked me, apart from the needs.
Compensate these deficiencies with the help of ICT.
Yeah, of course, ma'am, sure, because my website itself is an excellent example for this, because it vehements that almost those who have used it, even the teachers and the students, I got the feedback I received from them clearly indicates that ICT can, to a great extent, it can address the needs and the problems faced by our students.
And one more point, there are some challenges for teachers also, because the strength of the classroom, the interest of the students, the lack of resources, everything, all these are challenges for the teachers also, isn't it?
Exactly, ma'am, because almost our classrooms are crowded, starting from 45 to around 50 or 55 students, giving individual attention to develop the listening comprehension of the students is not possible always, but it can. That's why I say that it should be inclusive of the course book. Just like while we are teaching all other skills, why can't we put a little more time? If it is included in the course book and if it becomes a part and parcel of our exam system, it's there. It comes automatically. Our teachers and our system will give importance to develop the listening comprehension of our students. If you just have if you have time, just go through my website. I think these queries will be addressed, because there are separate sections for developing all the skills, sub skills, including the sub skills, and where the difficulties faced by teachers as well as students, I hope it will be addressed to a great extent, because what the feedback, as far as I go with the feedback I received, I think it's doing a tremendous work.
Okay, thank you, Shriyeka. And one more point I want to highlight, because all over the world, we people are having, we are very poor in the listening skill. Because in life itself, we are facing so many problems, isn't it? It's not only among the students, but also the people all over the world. And that's why we are trying deliberately to arrange these kinds of seminars so that we can communicate effectively in many respects. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I would like to add one more point, ma'am, and taking one more second to add that it's not possible. Actually, the practical difficulties are incurred while we try to impart listening training program in classrooms. It can be done individually also, because this website runs in all platforms, including mobile. So it's self-explanatory and it's interactive also. So the student can do it at any time. They can at their home, at their any time, even in classrooms also, because in almost all schools, our schools are now digitally equipped with number of laptops are available, because every school is having 3 or 4 computer labs with excellent laptops, and government is providing all such wonderful ICT equipments are available, and it works in mobile platform, and now almost all of the students have smartphones also. So that question, I think it can be addressed. Okay, ma'am, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Shriyeka. I think there are more successful ventures may be available in all over the world, and other participants also can share if they have any successful experiences with regard to this enhancing this listening comprehension. And some of my observations regarding Mohsin, I have some observations regarding your presentation. Are you there, Mohsin? Hamid Mohsin?
Please unmute yourself, Mohsin. Please unmute yourself, Mohsin.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. In your presentation, you have talked about this teaching English as an international language and creating a sense of identity, because it's a foreign language, and every learner have an apprehension towards learning this language. If you have any concrete suggestion for enhancing or promoting this learning of English as an international language. And you have referred to the pedagogic challenges also.
Yes.
In the cultural context. Can you suggest any particular context?
Yes, ma'am. For example, I have been taught in Yemen English for a long time in institutes and also at the university. I found students are more, stuck with the types of English. For example, so many times students come to me, ask me, teacher, could you please tell me where should I go for American type of English or for British? Which one is superior? Which one is used more? So it creates a kind of chaos in their mind. And also I felt that they are obsessed by this idea. And also they are just imitating the American and British accents and forgetting the most important of English, which is to attain communication proficiency. So I just try to highlight this. And also I'm working on my PhD on linguistic hegemony. So I feel that also those kind of obsessions are making them subjected to imperialism and also subjected to hegemony. So I'm trying to say that let us suggest a new kind of English. I have been here in India for 1 year, and the people are not talking about American or British English. They have their own English. So I was just suggesting this idea.
And that's why you have referred to this varieties of English, isn't it?
Yes, we have different institutes. For example, educational institutes.
The variety,
right?
I think the English has no variety, but it's a variety in using the language, right?
Yes, yes. Some of them are British, some of them are American, some of them are Canadian. So I would just suggest let us be neutral, learn language as itself. Let us forget about the native speakers' varieties. It has become an international language, not only a property of these native speakers.
Yeah. If we have more focusing on the communicative aspect, I think these apprehensions can be reduced to a large extent, right? Because the language is for communication, right? Isn't it?
Yes, I'm trying to say that it is a language of communication, and we should not only focus on how the native speakers are pronouncing such word and how the students will spend so many times on trying to imitating these accents.
Okay, that's right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And the first presenter, that is Sri, it is Smita. Dr. Smita, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Dr. Smita, are you present?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, because referring to the socio-cultural approaches to the English language, you have raised a point that is the learning of English lowering the self-esteem of students. Why do you say that? Do you have any concrete explanation for that?
Professor, I have also a question for this presenter, if it is possible.
Please.
Hello.
Dr. Smita?
Yes, hello, ma'am. Pardon?
Is the question clear?
No, it's not clear, ma'am. I'm not hearing.
Yeah, referring to the socio-cultural approaches, you said there is this difficulties in the cultural transmission of language, and there is because it lowers the self-esteem of students. Maybe because of that. Why do you say that?
So, Chairman, if it is possible, I have also a question to this presenter.
That is lowering this self-esteem of students.
Yeah. What's the question, ma'am? Hello?
You have pointed out that the socio-cultural approaches, maybe in learning English, it lowers self-esteem of students. Maybe because of the cultural context.
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
Because
yeah.
Because in Kerala we know English we are starting from first standard onwards. When the children are going to school and coming to school, then it is an unfamiliar word to them. Then
I think it's not from the first standard. It's in the primary level.
yeah, in private schools, it's from the pre-primary level. Then, if they are not if we are not addressing the socio-cultural background of the children, they will be very unfamiliar and embarrassing. They cannot cope up with this environment and they cannot study in an abstract world.
Okay, can you suggest some cultural specific approaches?
Hello?
Can you suggest some cultural specific approaches?
Yeah, the approach should be always we should give more emphasis to the learner-centered approach. That is, and role play, now what we are doing is, once upon a time there was a king like that, we are giving some role plays, dramas, etc. More than that, we can do from nature or from real language environments, like that environment we can give and give them role plays. It should be interactive. Instruction scaffolding should be more.
Okay. I think in the morning session, our professor also has mentioned this. That is resorting to a simple strategy for all. We must have very diverse and specific strategies and techniques for making the learners. Okay.
Yeah, actually, the problem is in Kerala, we are implementing all these methods, but the method of implementation is the problem.
Okay, thank you. I think there are
one more question I have from the one more question I have. Hello. Somebody asked about Gotra Bandhu. What is Gotra Bandhu? Like that.
Okay.
I would like to answer that. Kerala government implemented a new scheme called Gotra Bandhu to reduce the dropout rate of tribal children. This is called, the Gotra Bandhu means it's a mentor teacher. In each tribal school, there will be a mentor teacher who is speaking the children's mother tongue. So, this mentor teacher can act as the communicating link between the children and the school teacher. That is, the mentor teacher will be handling their children's mother tongue and the home and the school language. Home language and the school language. So, he will be the connective link between the school teacher and the child. So the tribal children can communicate their mother tongue. So the unfamiliar situation will be overcoming, and this will be very helpful to the children to be in the school and understand what the school teacher is saying. This is the project called Gotra Bandhu.
Okay, thank you. I think there are no more friends and comments. Is there any? Yes.
A question for this presenter.
Okay, please. Dr. Smita, there's a question for you.
Yeah, did you give me a chance, Professor, for me?
Yes, why not? Dr. Smita, there's a question for you.
Thank you very much. And my question is for the first presenter, Dr. Smita. And in short, how do you see the functionality of socio-cultural approaches in the era of ICT, which most of the time needs just individual learning, and during such pandemic time, how do you see the functionality and practicality of socio-cultural approaches in language learning? Thank you.
Dr. Smita, please unmute your mic. Yes.
Thank you for the question. Actually, I have done a practice with mentally challenged children using ICT. How we can do is, with the help of some softwares or some animations, we can recreate natural environments. That is actually our home itself. I have tested with my home, the home situation. One room, we can implement a table like that. Natural environments we can implement one by one. We can place the objects, move the objects, everything we can do with the help of different softwares are there for that. Like we can recreate the natural environments in ICT with the help of ICT.
Okay, is it all? Is it okay?
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, if there is no more questions, I think we can conclude. I mean,
Ma'am, please, you can conclude because we need to go to the last session.
Okay. Thank you very much, all professors. Because the English as a foreign language and as a second language, anyway, in all over the world, every country is giving thrust to this language because now the need of every person has become not local but global. In this COVID-19 scenario, also we see if we need a medicine, we have to look around the world. And for that, we have to communicate with all kinds of people. And that's why, and there English becomes prominent in this communicative aspects and in schools. And especially in Kerala, we are giving much importance to the teaching and learning of English. And the Department of Linguistics in the University of Kerala itself is experimenting with all kinds of strategies in all different languages. And there must be constructive efforts on the part of the teachers also to make it more attractive. That is the learning of any language. Make it more comfortable and more interesting for the students. And for that, there need to be a collaborative effort among the teachers, students, parents, and the community. And these kinds of webinars is opening doors for all. That is in order to share our thoughts, because in every part of the world, our needs are the same. Basically, we are all human beings. Our needs are the same, interests are the same. And we are every moment we are trying to communicate with others. So in this regard, this event is very much useful. And I thank all the authorities of Department of Linguistics for inviting me to chair this session. And I'm happy to be with all the participants because you have shared your thoughts and you were very interestingly communicating with all of us. And thank you one and all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, dear Professor Bindu. Thank you for accepting the invitation and for chairing the session. You have been very helpful, supportive, and you have extended your collaboration with us. And I'm sure that you have also pointed some additional ideas and points, especially on ICT, as you are interested in these particular topics. Thank you very much. Thanks once again. And
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr.